Today, we're talking with Dave Wertel, who's the owner of Jake's House, and we're going to be talking about Passive House. And Jake's House is a passive house, and not very many houses are passive house these days. And we're going to talk about why Dave chose to build a passive house and what really focused his attention on passive house versus other methods of building. So let's take it away. So, David, we've seen a lot about your project in our videos already, and it's actually coming along really well. This time, we're actually framing all the walls in the basement and starting to frame the floor system. And this house is a very different house than most houses that are built. We do a lot of passive house projects, but not very many people build passive house, and not very many people understand what passive house is. And I'd love to understand your view of passive house and why you chose to go passive house.
I guess it's kind of a long story, but the short version is that I think that passive house is the best kind of shelter in terms of making sure that the people inside have the healthiest environment they possibly can. In my current home, which is not a passive house where I live, every year we have these California wildfires, and the smoke comes right through the walls, and it's awful. We have air scrubbers in every room, and it's still not enough to clean all of the air. I bought little particle monitors to find out how bad it is, and it's not great. So I've always been concerned about that, and I am concerned about my own energy use. I have solar panels and batteries, and I try to conserve. And I think that with a house that's designed for conservation, that will be a much easier job. I'll be able to use less energy and have a smaller energy footprint on the planet. When that's always kind of been in the background of things that I wanted, but when it came time for me, where I actually had a chance to build my own home, the property that we chose was right next to railroad tracks. This is right near a park that we really love, and the location, other than the railroad tracks, was perfect for us. But the railroad tracks they're loud. The trains going by blast their horns. The Federal Rail Association administration says you have to blast them at 95 to 110 decibels. And that's very loud. That's unhealthy loud. And I measured, in fact, on the property that the horn noise was even louder than that. I measured 120 decibels on the property.
And so I think it's really important to understand that the decibel range is a logarithmic range.
Yeah.
So 110 is 1/10 as loud as 120.
Yeah.
And 130 is 10 times louder than 110.
Yeah.
So the difference between 100 and 110 and 120 is 100-fold different.
Yep.
Okay, so you've, I think this is just great. So you've established that you went into passive house because of health first, sound maybe second, and energy third. So tell me a little bit about why you say that passive house is important to health. Because I mean, you and I know why, but I don't think most people understand why passive house has such a dramatic effect on the indoor air quality and the health of the occupants.
It's about controlling the air. So in the house that I live in today, I have no control. The house was designed to quote unquote breathe essentially through its walls, and that's the most common way I think that people build. They think, well, if any humidity gets into the walls, it'll be able to evaporate eventually and dry out, and that's why we need these walls to be permeable. I've heard this excuse for why walls are permeable. I think that that's a poor excuse. I think that there are ways of building such that the inside of the wall never gets wet and it doesn't have to actually dry out. And it's all about control. When you design a system, the system has to address, whatever your requirements are. And in my case, my requirements are that all of the air that's in the house is fresh. It doesn't have, a buildup of carbon dioxide from our exhalation. It's got to be clean. So any pollution that's outside, such as from forest fires or vehicles or whatever, doesn't actually get into the house. And other factors of cleanliness. If you don't build a system to control the air in the house, then you're going to get whatever. You will have no control, and you're just going to get the lowest common denominator of quality. But if you design the house as a system to control where the air comes from, where it goes, and how it's treated, then you actually have a chance of maintaining the quality of the air by filtering, by exchanging heat, and other technological systems that you build into that system.
So I think the key that Dave's talking about is air sealing, right? It's really controlling the breathing of the house and then kind of reducing it as much as possible so that any exchange of air inside and outside the house is through either open doors and windows when you open the doors or the windows. But in the winter time and anytime we have a bad air event, it's as tight as possible. And the air changes per hour is measured in ACH 50, which is air changes per hour at 50 pascals. And Passive House requires it to be less than 0.6 air changes per hour. A typical house is anywhere between 6 and 10 air changes per hour. So we're talking about a 10th to a 20th of the air changes per hour. And that's just about detailing that project. So the point of this topic was to really talk about why Passive House isn't just about energy efficiency. It's about a whole lot more, including air quality, indoor health, and sound. And we're going to talk more about those in future episodes. And if you're interested in learning more about building science, more about talking about with Dave, or about Dave's house, or following our other projects, please hit subscribe as we show you how to build a better way.